Good afternoon, Jacks and Jills. I am SirDimwi, and this is 3 Minute Meta. In this third installment, we are going to cover defensive joust schemes. So I'm going to throw a whole bunch of numbers at you, and then we're going to break them down. 211, 121, 112, 22, and 1111, though we're just going to call this man from here on. These are your basic defensive joust schemes. With the exception of man coverage, the three numbers correspond to three assignments in the following order: forecheck, midfield, and backfield. The numbers represent how many players you're committing to each of these assignments, and pairs typically represent chain pairs. So we'll start with the most common, and so likely the one most familiar to you, the 2-1-1. This scheme is typically run by sending a chain in the direction of the opposing team's quarterback, sending one player up to mid, typically to cover a pass option, and leaving a player back to guard against long shots, deep passes, and clears. It's the most common style of defensive coverage because it also tends to be the safest to run. Any players you send deep are in a pair and so can boost back on defense. There's a goalie protecting the bubble and goal, and the midfield player is not too far out to generally get caught behind the play if the offense progresses through mid. Conversely, a 1-2-1 scheme, while used a fair bit at the competitive level, is also a generally vulnerable scheme. This scheme sends a single player in the direction of the quarterback while setting a chain up to attack the first or second pass. The aggressive nature of the play does lead to some moderate success in forcing a quick turnover, but if the play does not succeed, there's a fair chance that the forechecking player will be caught well behind the play, and thus the offense may be able to push a 4v3 all the way to the goal. This is not to say that the 1-2-1 should not be used, only that you should be aware of the dangers when deploying this scheme. The 2-2 scheme is one that utilizes two defensive chains, generally one to attack the quarterback and one to attack the first pass, or some other combination of similar assignments. It's an incredibly flexible strategy given the mobility of having all players on the field in boosting pairs, but it can also be vulnerable to tube shots and long bounce shots if the chains are not quick enough to track down those shots. The 1-1-2 scheme you might consider as more of an alternative to the 2-2 scheme, where instead of sending a pair at the QB, that pair splits with one going to QB and one covering a pass option. This makes the first pass more predictable for the back chain, and so they can set up in a more favorable position to attack. And finally, man coverage is probably one of the most aggressive formations a defense can utilize. This scheme sends each player to cover each of the opposing team's players one-on-one. The idea is to take out all available options while also applying a pressure to the quarterback in order to force a bad pass or otherwise any manner of turnover. So long as you're aware of the position of your teammates and can quickly get back together to change your bubble in the event that the coverage breaks down, man coverage should only be moderately more vulnerable than a 2-2 or 1-1-2. So now I'm curious, what sorts of defensive schemes have you seen deployed? Which ones do you consider the most effective? Do you think I missed something or got something wrong? Or do you have any ideas for other 3-minute metas? Please leave them all in the comments below this video. I will be reading through all of them, so feedback is greatly appreciated. But that's it for this installment of 3-minute meta. In the next, we are going to cover initial attack vectors. I've been SirDimwi. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.